I'm Jamie, and this is the vlog for 8/21/2020. I'm in bed. It is about 10:25, and I am more than ready to call it a day. I'm ready to call it a season. I'm ready to call it a year. I am ready to kick 2020's butt out the door and hope 2021 has better things in store. So my in-laws, God bless them, are wonderful people. And they have included me to the nth degree, which I love and I truly appreciate, even though as a introvert, and they are all extroverts extremely, I don't always know how to process or reciprocate that. And that was kind of apparent today. So they have these text message trains that I've gotten much more involved in now that, COVID is a thing. I used to just say, like, can you keep me out of the group because it's blinging my phone while I'm trying to work with clients and I need my phone and it's incredibly distracting. But now my client load is carried differently. There's a lot of people working from home, doing distance workouts and stuff. So I enjoy the conversation via text, and I just kind of ignore what doesn't interest or include me, and clue into what does. So today they were chatting about all of the crazy weather phenomena going on right now. There's like 2 hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. And we're talking about something else too. I forget what it was. Some other big weather. Oh, another hurricane by Florida. And meanwhile, I found out just yesterday, right before I went to bed, that there was basically 2 days worth of incredible storming over Northern California. Like, we're talking 800 or more lightning strikes, which is highly, highly unusual. But it started hundreds of wildfires. Some of them were arson too. I mean, there's a lot of fire bugs up there because there's fuel, and I don't know why people start fires, but I mean, I know there's been a lot of research into it, and I could tell you the objective reasons, but it doesn't compute with me. And probably because of my experience with wildfires. So my experience, to sum up, in the 30 years I lived in Southern California, after 1996, was the first time I remember having to evacuate, being able to leave, take only what I could carry. I had a dog on a leash, a backpack full of stuff, and a very pissed off cat in a carrier, and walking down the street, trying to get away from the fire where it's literally snowing ash. The sky was an unnatural shade of red and orange. It was like the devil was coming to town. In all of the fiery glory that you have ever pictured Satan coming to town with. I think I even wrote a poem about it called "The Day the Devil Came." Maybe I'll find it one of these days. We'll see. I think I have it around somewhere. But anyway, that was the first time I remember evacuating. And after that, there's been something like 9 times in the next 13 years. One of them keeping me out of my house for about 7 to 10 days. I forget which. My parents couldn't house me because they couldn't handle my dog. Not that he was destructive or not, but they had a very sensitive cat. It would have been bad news. So I ended up, and I would have been sleeping on a couch anyway. So I ended up staying at my then boyfriend's house and crashing on his couch with my dog. And they were so gracious and so helpful in my crisis. I really appreciated it. I've been very lucky, blessed. Maybe it's just the type of people I attract, but they've all had incredible families. I couldn't say a negative thing about any of them. Anyway, I'm getting away from the point. Let's go back. So I remember being at his house and watching the news, of course, wanting to know what was happening. Work had let me off because even if I had been at work, I wouldn't have been able to get anything done. And the fire at that point was actually threatening my job too. So I was watching the news and the newscaster was talking, and you could hear these boom, giant explosions in the background. You couldn't see them, but you could hear them somewhere underneath the oak trees in the canyon down below. And she explains what I already knew, and it's that those were propane tanks from people's houses exploding because they were getting so hot. So the good thing about oak trees, in case you didn't know, is that they don't burn very easily. The bad thing about oak trees is that when they get hot enough, they'll burn and they kind of explode and split and burn that way. And that area of Southern California is also heavily planted with eucalyptus trees, which were used for railroad ties way back in the day. And they're beautiful. And they smell great and all that, right? Well, if you like menthol, they smell great. But when they get hot, they drip oil from their leaves, and those oil comes off in like burning droplets, and it lights everything else on fire, and it gets carried on the wind. And it is just a awful combination. And there's always dry grass and stuff. So awful combination of circumstances. Being out of my house that long, and when I finally came back, the cat I could not corral to come with me, who I ironically named Kaji, which is the Japanese name for conflagration or flame. She was kind of feral, and I could not get her to come with me. I assumed that she got roasted. The flames ended 9 feet from my back fence. That's where the ash line stopped. My house was saved because it did not have a propane tank, and because many of my neighbors refused to evacuate. They planned on letting that canyon burn because it had no fire hydrants. They had to truck in all the water. It was a very old area. And at the next major road, they could have made a really strong stand. But because my neighbors in the area refused to leave and hose down their houses, the fire department did not want that on them. So they made a stand, and they won probably a dozen houses that would have been torched. One of them was the one I was living in. So I proceeded to live in that barbecue pit because that's what it smelled like. There's aftermath to these things. 4 months. It was rough, and it left an incredible impression. I don't want to say PTSD because I feel like that downplays the anxiety of PTSD. And I don't have any official diagnosis or anything, but the Puget Sound area gets something called stagnant air. It's just when the air doesn't move and it sits and things like that. And they usually put up a burn ban so we can't have fires because the smoke doesn't blow away, it just sits. And sometimes when there's fires in Northern California, like there are now, Oregon and Eastern Washington, they all kind of converge and just sit in this heavy, heavy smoke that's dangerous to be outside breathing in our area. And we had 2 summers where it just sat all of August. And it was taking everything within me to not pack a go bag, because that's what I know from that kind of smoke situation is there's a fire, it's close, pack a bag, get ready to go, or go now before they tell you to go. Because by then it'll be tougher to get out. Logically, my brain knows I live in a practical rainforest. It's not likely to happen here. That smoke doesn't mean there's something knocking on my door, but it does mean, I mean, in this case, my biological father and my half sister and their dog are evacuated from their hometown in California right now. I haven't really been able to get in touch with them much because that's what you do when you're in a wildfire and you're evacuated. You don't get on the phone all the time because those signals are things and data that the firemen need. And also, cell towers do burn down. So there's a lot going on. On top of the typical stuff, pandemic, deployment. This COVID thing has reached us way too close to home here personally. Everyone's situation is a little bit different with it. It was enough today that I was just done. I was just 2020 can go jump off a cliff. Like, what's next? Godzilla outside. We've had good happen too, though. I mean, like, good against the odds good. Like, my husband ended up getting a promotion at work. And he did not expect to get. There were not very many builds available, and he'd been passed over many times before, but he got it. Um, excuse me, not COVID. Many of my clients that I expected to be out of work or to kick personal training to the curb haven't, to either degree. And if they have been out of work, it hasn't been for very long, and then they've been able to continue because this became a habit and a healthy habit for them, which has kept me afloat and helped me redirect my business as well, to kind of work on recovering and expanding in a time of a pandemic. Like, who does that? I mean, wrap your brain around that one. I'm still figuring it out. It's a lot of work, but it's encouraging, to see that for all the stuff going in the bucket, for all the weight, there's a lot of good too happening. There's some sunshine here and there. So anyway, I have rambled on for 11 minutes now, and I hope you're all happy and healthy. And tomorrow needs to be better.